All right, here we go. Proverbs 4. I know I did Proverbs 3 yesterday, but I took it down. It just wasn't right. We're in Proverbs 4 this morning, and there's a portion of scripture I'm going to read. It's beautiful. You know, chapter 4 of Proverbs, verses 1 through 12. Now, this portion of scripture is Solomon speaking, but Solomon is saying, listen to me. These are the words that my father taught me. This was the words of King David that he shared with Solomon as a child. He says here in scripture, when I was my father's son, tender and the only one in the sight of my mother. Such a young man, and the only one with Bathsheba. And David sat with him. And I'm going to get into it right now. I'm going to read real quick. Verses 1 through 12. Solomon writes, "Hear, my children, the instruction of a father, and give attention to know understanding. For I give you a good doctrine. Do not forsake my law. When I was my father's son, tender, and the only one in the sight of my mother, he also taught me and said to me, let your heart retain my words. Keep my commands and live. Get wisdom. Get understanding. Do not forget nor turn away from the words of my mouth. Do not forsake her, and she will preserve you. Love her, and she will keep you. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And in all you're getting, get understanding. Exalt her, and she will promote you. She will bring you honor when you embrace her. She will place on your head an ornament of grace, a crown of glory. She will deliver to you. Hear, my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of your life will be many. I have taught you in the way of wisdom. I have led you in the right paths. When you walk, your steps will not be hindered, and when you run, you will not stumble." And I just love that. As I sit here and read this, it reminds me when I would sit with my kids back in California. I would sit with them and just get into the Word with them alone. Their mother would be at work, and I had that one-on-one time with them, and I would pour into them. And my oldest son and my youngest daughter, my oldest and my youngest were the two that I poured a lot into. My oldest son, he saw me when I was living in the world, and then when I came to the Lord, and he saw the change in me. And when he came to the Lord, I started sharing with him all the information God shared with me. And to this day, this young man is a very good, godly young man of God who walks in wisdom and understanding. I'm just so blessed as a father that son he has really walked in the Lord, moved and grown. And then my youngest, I poured into her a lot, and hence why she's struggling so much with me not being around, because she's not being poured into the way I taught her. She's not being fed the way I fed her in the spirit and guided. I know her, But my point is, David took advantage of the situation right here, of this opportunity to pour into his son. Even though he had many sons and daughters already, and Absalom came along, and, Amnon came, and his sister, and all this, the rape and all that stuff, just the murders, Uriah, and just the death of his other child. At this point, David's been a king for a good minute and had several kids, many wives. Bathsheba was kind of his favorite. And Solomon came out, and David sat with his son and said, listen, son, I'm going to teach you something. And he says here, when he was his father's son, in verse 3, tender and the only one in the sight of her mother, he taught me and said to me, let your heart retain my words. Listen to me. Keep my commands and live. He says this, get wisdom. Get understanding. Do not forsake her. She will preserve you. Do not forget nor turn away from the words of my mouth, he says. This blows my mind as I sit here. This is David's son. And this David was a mighty man of war. David was known to just kill people at the throne of God, before his throne, drive out evil. David was a man of war. There was blood on his hands. He killed many, many people. He drove out the people that were in the land of Israel, and he claimed the land that should have been claimed back in Joshua's time. But because they had eyes on the world and not on God, they got scared and did not claim that ground that God gave them. So the people that inhabited it there stood there. So David went out and flushed them out, and just much bloodshed. In the name of God, in the name of Yahweh, in the name of the Lord, and established the kingdom. The 12 tribes united them and ruled over them. And he's met much war. You know what I'm saying? And you would think that David would teach his sons how to be men of war also. No. David was at the age where he understood that war, bloodshed, and death could be avoided. It could be avoided. So when he had his son Solomon, his precious son, through his beautiful wife, he realized, I'm going to teach this child wisdom. I'm going to teach this child how to seek out wisdom, to seek understanding, to seek instruction. Because a wise, strong king is not a man of war. He's a man of wisdom. With wisdom, you can move mountains. With wisdom, you can avoid a war. You see what I'm saying? David didn't teach him how to be a man of war, but he taught him how to be a man of wisdom. And I encourage you, brothers and sisters, do not teach your kids to be athletes or CEOs or the best farmhand around, or get a doctorate and this and that. Teach them to seek the Lord and to seek wisdom, to gain understanding. You see? And as David's explaining to Solomon about wisdom, I love it down here. He says in verse 6, do not forsake her, and she will preserve you. Remember, wisdom is known as a female spirit. Wisdom is a spirit. God will give you the spirit of wisdom. And she is precious. He says this, do not forsake her, and she will preserve you. Love her, and she will keep you. Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom. Love her, love wisdom. And that's a trip because, like I told you a few days ago, I love love and I love wisdom. And he's saying here to love wisdom. A lot of times when you walk in wisdom and get involved in conversations with other people, through wisdom, you realize to not even answer them, to let them think that they're right. They want to dispute, they want to plead their cause or their case, and they might be right in some things, but they're not right in all of it. And if you answer a fool according to their folly, guess what? They're going to think that you're just like them, and they're going to think they're right. They're going to think they're right. And I love that part in Avengers, I think it's called Civil War, where the Avengers had split up, and Spider-Man came in, Iron Man, and then on this side you have Captain America and Bucky, and all of a sudden Captain America and Spider-Man are fighting each other. And as they're fighting, they're talking, and then Spider-Man, keeps yapping away, and he's like, he goes, Steve told me about you. He's like, what do you mean? He goes, he told me, that you think that what you're doing is right, and that makes you dangerous. So to not let you talk, and it's just like so many people out there, they might have some of the right information, but not all of it. And because they have some of the right information, they believe they're truly right. Because in their mind, it makes sense. In their mind, it makes sense. So they believe that they're right. But those of wisdom see the full picture because it's experience they have already. They've already lived that life or a portion of it. They've experienced that. Into the knowledge and experience that comes out wisdom, how do you apply it? And many times when you walk in wisdom, there's going to be many conversations you're going to have that you're going to walk away from because it's not worth the time. It's not worth your breath because the people you're talking to believe they are right, and that makes them dangerous if you continue to talk with them. So the point is with wisdom is let them be. Don't start war over words. And David knew that. David knew that if you would just walk away from a fool, there will not be a war. But if you continue to enlighten a fool and converse with the fool, guess what? Now you're going to have a debate which is going to it's already caused some type of friction. You're going to have war. So as you grow in wisdom, look up the 7 pillars of wisdom and you start applying those to every conversation you have, you're going to realize that not only will you have much peace, and you got to bite your tongue because people will tear you down. And because you don't answer, they think that they're right. They, oh, I got him. And oh, blah, blah, blah. And it's here's where self-control comes in. And it's hard. Self-control is just like you want to just set them straight and blah, blah, blah. But it's like they're a fool. They're not going to get it. They've already gathered enough information on their side to prove their point, but they don't know the whole story. That's why Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, yesterday, I didn't share with you, but he says here, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Trust in he. You don't have all the information yet. Therefore, you don't know the right answer. And as you walk in wisdom and you move forward in it and you apply it, it's definitely a different life. But you avoid a lot of heartache and headaches caused by you. You're still going to see it and experience it in others, but you learn to just let them be. They're going to reap it, and you don't seek wisdom to get people back. No, you seek wisdom so you learn how to live life. You learn what to avoid, who to avoid, what to not eat, what to not drink, where to not live, where to not visit. You see what I'm saying? In wisdom, you realize sometimes in wisdom, you don't visit your own family, your own blood family. If you left a place like a messed up place like California or Las Vegas, and then you come to a beautiful country home, why in the world would you go back to visit those places, even if your family is there? There's no wisdom in that, exposing your family and your kids to that demonic realm again for the sake of, comforting your uncles and aunts and grandmas and cousins. It's just that's a foolish thing to do. There's no wisdom in that. They can come to you. This is why you would leave that environment. You don't go back to Egypt when God removed you from Egypt. Let those from Egypt come visit Israel. You see? So again, I love wisdom because as you sit here and it causes you to think about things. And as we move forward throughout the month in wisdom, it's causing me to think about these things. And I apologize for my venting sessions. Bear with me. I'm a work in progress. I was hoping somebody would rebuke me. I got many people who watch, but no one speaks up. If you love me, you rebuke me, and I'll accept it and I'll receive it and I'll grow wiser for it. I'm not going to debate you or argue with you. I'll consider the words that come out of your mouth and I'll lift it up to God, chew on the meat, spit out the bones. Brothers and sisters, much love to you all. Peace be with you. May the joy of the Lord be your strength. Remember, choose wisdom over the world. God bless.